Welcome back to another episode of Boys Love Iland, 2020's classic
survival show
that we are slowly discovering was a real mind game.
I can't get over when you said last week that there is a little ethical conundrum about, like, a lot of them didn't know what they were expecting coming in, so it is kind of like
here's the actual inherent problem. If you want to really get into it,
after 2-3 episodes,
yes, is that people who engage and they go on Survivor, they go on Big Brother, so it's not really that they don't know because there's never been an island before. It's that they are not signing up for this of their own volition. Right, because they're engaged with these companies to some degree who decide, like, okay, now it's time to go do
a show. Yeah,
and we don't know what that individual
That's
conversation is with each company because we don't know how much they really do know. We're doing a new format kind of survival show, so expect the unexpected. Like, we don't know. People just random, like, doctors and lawyers and nurses and whatever go on Survivor.
Because they have their own lives. For here, it's like, this is also their current occupation. Because
this is a job interview.
Yes. They're currently in contract in order to do this. You know?
Right.
Or a company could use it as a way to be like, well, let's get them fans now. So that way when we debut them, they already have people that are following them, you know?
Right.
Which I think, because Boys Planet blew up so much, I think that's helping a lot of the trainees debut now.
Yeah.
I'm curious for Iland, like, how did this pan out?
Well, it's weird because you would think with this, because there's a smaller pool, that, like, everyone could go from this and then go, like, debut. And, like, a lot
That's true, and a lot has, yeah.
But there's still definitely people who I don't think I've heard about since then.
No.
6 Islanders have to go to ground. 6 grounders have to come to Island. We'll find out that the Islanders can check their individual scores.
Yeah.
And then they can choose to do whatever they want with that information.
Yes.
And I don't think any of them tell each other what their scores are. But it seems like they were allowed to, but
it seems like people carried what their
okay, so what's crazy about this is, like, because this is a show, like,
correct.
Like, so this is a show. Because this is a show where the prize is a group. It is not a individual competition.
Yeah.
We'll come back to the idea of individual competitions later in this episode. I don't know why Jungwon is not like, hi, I got 75, I got the highest score. Because you're then guaranteed to stay. Because everyone wants the group to be super strong because they think it'll elevate everything. This is not like, you know, Bendela Christ is winning every challenge, so she's, you know, next to go. Like, it's not.
But I am curious, they're cutting so much. There's so much content.
The episodes are so short.
Which is crazy
that I'm saying that.
I don't think they're this short. I think the finale is like a full 3 hours, which makes sense. It's a finale.
Yeah, it's a finale.
But I wonder.
It was probably live. They're going to draw it out.
Yeah. So.
PO2 is.
There's a lot that's being cut out that I do feel like maybe it's obvious that Jungwon was the best. You know, his name never comes up or something like that. Because there are people that are showing their grade,
the way they carry themselves,
the way they're presenting the gallows humor. Like, they're kind of like giving off like what they're getting,
sure,
to kind of like seal their fate already in that.
Would you choose to go look at it? Would you choose to look at your score?
Yeah, totally.
It depends on how I felt I had done.
Oh.
If I felt like I did well, then I would want to see it. If I felt like I didn't do well, then I'd be like,
to debut, you gotta know. You have to be subjective.
What's crazy is that's the only feedback they've gotten.
Is that number?
That's the feedback.
Yeah, exactly.
Besides when Rain came and was like, you actually have to sing and dance at the same time. Really taught them the basics of being an idol.
But that's the thing. I do like that they showed their group number first, so at least they can see what is the highest, what is the lowest, so they see the range.
Ground sees them receive the information that 6 are going home.
Yes.
And Ground is shook Because ground was like I thought
two, they were great. Maybe 2.
Yeah, not 6. I don't even think I thought 6.
I definitely didn't, but
it makes sense.
It's so hard. What they did, that signal song choreography is very difficult.
Yes,
and that they're all just self-teaching.
It's very hybe,
and they're all just self-teaching themselves.
Very big hit. Yeah,
which definitely is a thing that comes up in this episode.
Oh yeah. So they have 12 hours until the island members have to vote each other off to send people to ground. As I said, Jungwon got the top. So the score range was 40 to 75. Lowest was 40, highest was 75. And then Jake
got the lowest
score at 40.
Because his mic pack fell. And it's not even just about that. It's that because he fell, he got flustered.
He didn't do his line. Yeah.
I mean, that's the biggest thing. You have one line and you didn't get to sing it.
I know. My poor baby. Daniel got 70.
The second highest, I think. Or at least in the top.
He's near Jungwon.
Yeah.
Youngbin got 47. Yeah. Nicholas got 46. And niki got 65.
Fujik, if you just want to be in the show, just let us know.
We'll buy you a mic.
We'll buy you a mic. Don't just show your little ass.
I know.
In the middle of us recording.
There's definitely room for everybody has room for improvement. I
also think the judges are judging based off of fan cams too. Because when they were looking at Nicholas, they were just in the next challenge, they had like a K fan cam.
Oh.
So I think they do get. I think there is a camera for each contestant.
Wow.
So they are being able to like see every single detail.
Yeah.
Because the thing was, watching that whole number together,
with the editing,
I couldn't really tell who was like doing well.
I mean, even when we watched Fantasy Boys, I couldn't tell all the differences, and that's why I would always want to watch the full cams
to see K-Soul not being in sync with the rest of the dance. Yeah. Yeah.
Daniel got 70 and is like, I got 70.
Mama.
So
I feel pretty great. So what's for dinner?
I'm feeling sat in this little couch.
Daniel, the age is showing, I think.
Oh, for sure.
Because I think he's like, okay, great. Then yeah.
I'm sat.
If the producer saw that I did great, then obviously everyone else saw that I did great. Right. And they won't vote me.
Right.
Duh. Yeah. That was when I was like, ooh, that's going to bite him in the ass. Even
the fact that they're showing it, I was like, oh, it's a narrative now.
Yeah.
You don't want to be the narrative girl, but you also don't want to not have a narrative. That's also very important. I know.
It's a fine line, especially with survival shows.
Especially on survival shows. The narratives make or break you.
Especially with survival shows. Because when we get to ground, coming in, I didn't expect someone to get up on Iland.
Yes.
Because of the narrative that they had. So
here are the 6 from most votes to go to ground. Youngbin at 11.
So everyone voted for him. But him.
Daniel with 11. So everybody voted for Daniel. I do wonder because he was like, I wonder if like people were like annoyed.
Yeah.
Because he was like,
kind of like jolly.
Yeah, he was too. He became like too flippant about it because I think he felt so safe that he was like, "Well, good thing I don't have to worry." And Jake with 10, I think that makes sense.
That makes sense.
Jay with 9, Nicholas with 8, and Niki with 8. Half of Iland left, so we have Heesung, Jungwon, Sunghoon, Son, K, Gonu. Yeah, I guess I guess the other 6 are the ones that I would have voted for.
And I think that's how
I'm curious because there's definitely other people. There are other people who got votes.
Yeah, totally.
So I'm curious who.
I'm sure Heesung got votes. Unfortunately.
You think so? Because people were upset that he like...
Not that upset, but I think they were just like, oh...
Do you think Youngbin voted for Heesung?
Yeah.
And this reaction when they leave...
It's like...
What? It's like people are boarding the Titanic.
Yeah.
Truly.
It's like they're being shipped off to war.
I couldn't believe this reaction.
I couldn't believe how Heesung was truly wailing.
I mean, like, out of control sobbing.
But that's the thing. I think he thought that he was going to go to ground. I think he was convinced. I think he thought that they voted him to go, and that the fact that they didn't, it goes back. I think he felt really guilty. Maybe it was Niki.
I think Niki thinks like it's his fault that they got
lost.
such a low score. But I think Heesung blames himself for even letting it get to the point where Niki had to take over the PO1.
Yeah. Yeah.
He was like practically hiccup sobbing. Like it was like wild.
Yeah.
And I don't think I've ever seen
that happen with idols.
I don't think I've seen I don't think I've seen Heesung cry. And I have a feeling that's not going to be the last time I see it.
No. So they kick the girls out.
So they kick the girls out. So some girls have to come in.
They get in the egg. Well, they go first. The Iland comes to ground first.
Iland goes to ground.
Because Taki was like,
they make the walk.
There's no way, Niki, you're here. This is crazy.
Yeah. Curious to watch the rest of the show if Niki ever wants PO1 again.
Right.
Because that would scare... I would be like, I never ever want to be in the center.
Ever
Goodbye.
Again. No.
Never.
No.
And so now is revealed the 6 grounders who are going to move to Iland. So we have Taeyong. Okay. J-Bomb, our beloved IChan.
Beloved IChan. I did not expect.
Especially because in the last episode, they made the whole thing of him being like, he didn't do the choreo, he didn't know the lyrics, he didn't know.
He's so slow. Mess. He's mess.
They said that they needed more vocals, basically. Which is funny because the show itself has not focused on vocals in any way.
Literally in no way.
EJ
is back.
Jungwon. Sunoo.
Back.
Because they said, you know what we needed? We needed someone who was going to give face.
Yeah, they literally were like, I think we need someone to like do better expressions.
Yeah. And as soon as they said that, I was like, I know exactly
who the fuck this is.
They're going to call out. Because, of course.
Yeah.
That's part of the package.
Yes. It's part of the performance.
It's part of the performance. You can't just be backup dancer. And Taki.
Which...
So, no hanbin. I'm going to say this. It's unfair because we didn't get to see, like, all of their practice videos that they sent in to the producers.
No, not at all. We saw how they trained, and then we saw probably, like, one set of videos that they sent.
Yes, and not even
everyone's.
Right.
They really just focused more on, like, how they made it work. How they all learned together.
Well, because what's so interesting is like this show is like because it's not at this point there are no fan votes.
No.
So they are allowed to craft the narratives that like stretch over multiple episodes.
Absolutely. It's Drag Race.
That is what is like the thing that is most paying off about like watching this show is like
paying off as a show.
It's paying off as a piece of entertainment and like a narrative story arc.
As a competition.
That is really cool.
Yeah.
As a competition, I would probably hate my life.
Yes.
As a person on the show, I would be like, I would like to leave.
Yeah. I'm going home.
And I said to RJ, I was like, I don't want to think this, but I just know that they were like, the pronunciation wasn't correct. And I get it. Okay? I just always have empathy for the boys who are trying really hard.
Who have to also add to the fact that they have to learn a language at the same time.
Correct. And then they immediately find out that the second test is the It is called... Let me reiterate this for you girlies. It is called the teamwork test. Okay? Teamwork. There is no what in team? Iland. So, they are going to perform the song Fire by BTS.
By Bangtan Sonyeondan.
Ha! 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 Great song. Stand Fire. Love that song. And then they've added a dance break.
Yes, very famously.
So it's like the whole thing.
It's giving Dionysus. Because there's like people lifting.
There's lifts. There's like a pas de deux.
Yes.
There's a whole,
Yeah.
It's the cooperative, like, part of the thing. It's the part where they're like, now do the teamwork.
Yep.
So the rules is that Iland is going to perform Fire first, and then their scores will come back. And if their score is high enough that no Islanders go to ground, then ground will not even perform the song. So they will have wasted their entire week nothing.
Of learning.
Other thing that we don't know what happened with is that first place gets an immunity for either themselves or they can give it to someone else. So if, like, let's say Heesung got first place, but they have to vote, which I think he might be, because they loved his performance. If they gave it to Heesung, he could either be like, oh, I'm going to save myself, or if he's not worried about himself and wants to save a friend, he can give it to them. So if they're one of the ones who the Islanders vote out, it goes to the next person in line. It would be really nice if that pays off. And it's just like,
I don't think it wouldn't.
Yeah, I don't think it will either. After they hear this news, Jay is like, okay,
I am going to take this opportunity to redeem myself from a messiana, messy mess boots.
House boots
mess. So I'm going to learn from Heesung. I watched him and how he and Niki worked, and so I feel really confident that I could do it at ground. Because everyone looks really unsure.
Was very smart also because he was very efficient. Like he was like, we just need to start getting this done.
Yeah. Him and Niki were like, they made a schedule.
Yeah.
Like by this day, we learned this.
Right. Route. Ideally, that's very smart. Like you want to be like, this is how you set up blocking, blah, blah, blah.
By every day, we need to at least achieve these things.
Right. Jay, in this episode, and what I feel like is going to be the next episode, has this little like mini arc built in. Because he like fucked up last episode.
Like crash and burned. Really.
Crash and burned. Got sent to ground. And so now I feel like this is his redemption.
Yes.
And he is treating it like his redemption.
Solely.
Yes. So it's very interesting. Over at Iland, Heesung gets PO1. I also would give Heesung PO1 because Miss Big Hit Girly has already done the song.
You know the song. He was already doing the choreography for everyone.
I would also have given him this. K gets PO2. Jungwon, PO3. Ganu, PO4. Are you seeing a pattern here, RJ, of the people who get the higher positions in the group?
Yes. The whole narrative was that people that just came from ground didn't feel really confident. They really kind of got nervous by how big this challenge is. And so they didn't volunteer for any of the higher parts.
Okay, what's crazy is that this show created a class-based meritocracy system.
Yeah, absolutely.
Grounders on both... so everybody's mixed now. Yes. Grounders on both sides are being subservient to
Iland.
To Islanders.
Because they're like, well, they're just better and they have better skills.
Yes. But what's crazy, none of what has been decided as to where people are has ever been done by anyone but themselves. And yet they are like, oh, it's objectively true.
Yeah. You don't know the objectives.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
Like, it's not like... It's one thing if like Fantasy Boys, the producers decided grade 1, grade 2, grade 3. So then you're like, okay, well, that's their standards. Yeah. That's the producers, blah, blah, blah. They all just like, and even like Sunoo, who got in Iland and then got sent out of Iland and now is back in Iland, does not feel like, I would say of the Islanders who get to ground, feels the most uncomfortable being at Iland. If you are a person who just wants to watch like a survival show and you want to watch like,
you want to watch a group debut?
This is probably not the show for you.
You don't need it now.
Like, how can we raise the stakes in terms of like how to play with like kind of people's perception of talent and like leadership styles and like stuff like that, like because they're being put in situations that like they alone have created for themselves within the structure of the show,
are following it as if no, those were always the rules.
Yes, it's so interesting.
Because you could go, like, anyone in ground could have gone into Iland and be like, well, I am deserving of, we're all here.
But it's so cool to watch because everyone's trying to, like, figure out where they fit in the game.
It's learning that they're playing a game.
Right. Which is the other thing about the show is it's like you're going to create all these different, so you're going to mix up people enough that everybody has a chance to, like, get to grow with each other to some degree. Once you learn how to make art, and then you can start to like figure out why some art works and some doesn't. Yeah. Like that's when you can like start to critique, which is like what we do here on the Ampliverse.
Shut up.
But also like just generally like that's when you start to be like, oh, this is why I like something. When you can like start to put it into words instead of just being like, oh, that's good, that's bad. Everybody's 12 at one point in time. I loved the movie Kangaroo Jack. We don't know why. I just was the age where I was like, all media is good media. Yeah. There's no such thing as bad media. Anyway, now we're talking about. To the Islanders' defense, they're not like pushing them aside. They are trying to make them comfortable.
They're trying to make them comfortable. They're trying to make them be part of everything.
Heesung and Taki do some locking together, which is very cute. Anything Taki does on the show is cute. I can't believe there are people who were shocked that we liked Taki
in the first episode.
From the first episode. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yes, because he has skill and charm.
Then I feel like if you watched that episode and you were shocked that I just don't think you've ever watched us watch
a survival show before.
Watch a boys' survival show specifically.
Yes, and
we've only done 2, so fair enough. But
there was a moment. I think it was Sunoo. I don't remember if it was Taeyang or Yunwon, but with Jungwon. A lot of Korean names I just threw at you.
Yeah.
And they were talking, and Sunoo says, like, I don't want it to feel like I'm just here visiting Iland.
It's Taeyang.
That they need to be there to be better. And it's so crazy because they literally, both camps, get the exact same tasks. It's not like, here's the thing, it's not like Iland is getting private time with Zico or Rain, or that's the main thing, even like from Boys Planet and Fantasy Boys, like that's the main thing that you have to rely on.
The mentorship. That's not happening on the show.
That's not happening here. You get this pretty much the same amount.
Yes. And
yet they still feel like, for like Sunoo and Taeyang, it's like, I don't have the skills enough to be an Iland. When it's like,
but it's so okay. But this is the other thing that's crazy is like, what do at the end of the day, what does Iland and ground have that make your performances different? Right? Like you have a practice room, you have the music, you have everything you need in both places.
Yep.
Iland has a bunch of amenities and you can have more fun.
Yeah.
You have computers. You have a whole like Samsung commercial that we get. Wow, I love. Sunoo said he loves the color purple.
I love the color purple. I love these headphones.
I think he literally says, I never knew the color purple was so pretty.
Yeah. Girl, yes you do.
Girl. Like you have, I would say like the only thing really that Iland has really overground is that like cooler of drinks and food, snacks.
But here's the thing. I mean, if K-Bang PD, if you're really giving this like a huge fucking metaphor, right?
Right.
Of like equity, like opportunity, like one has more quote unquote resources, but it's the true metaphor of like, but what is the true resource that they're trying to get? Like at the end of the day, it's still singing, dancing, how you do it. But because Iland is packaged with all of these amenities with ease.
I mean, it's Parasite. It's literally the movie Parasite.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like they're all doing the same thing, but because they're in that, it makes them feel like they are better.
Yes.
And but it's not necessarily,
I don't want to say it's not true.
Yeah.
because obviously I think the boys do understand talent to some degree, and I do think
that obviously there is a range
of talent on the show.
That's the thing. But the people who are slow to learn choreography are in both Iland and ground. The people who pick up Niki is in ground,
right?
So like, it's truly, it almost feels like it's just about the opportunity.
This is why this episode was so interesting.
Yes, because it's showing the true mechanics.
Because I feel like I was seeing it, but they weren't putting together the idea of being like, oh, it doesn't matter where we are.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what we're doing. We just need to work together.
Yeah. IChan, our beloved IChan, J-Bomb, and Sunoo are like eating by themselves in the corner. They're like, oh, you can see all the like people who have really kind of clung together, like all the aces. So it was like heesung, Son, Gonu,
Jungwon.
Mm-hmm. The people have done really well. Mm-hmm. And then like they were like eating by together. And then it was just this cute thing of like, it really takes a while for us to like warm up to people. But it did feel like there's like an Iland click and then like ground.
Yeah. I think there's also another click between the two of them.
I think there's also a very more specific click.
Like a niche.
Like a very niche, specific, kind of, you could say a community. Maybe they found each other.
Yeah, like they're
almost like family. A found family, you could
situation.
Say. Between our beloved IChan and Sunoo. My favorite moment, truly, I think, in this whole show so far. Sunoo was like, Sunghoon, do you miss anyone? And he's like, yeah. Oh, I was close with Jake. So I miss Jake because he's cute.
He was so cute.
And Sunoo says,
I wrote this down in all caps. You'll find me cuter. Sunghoon is an ice skater.
Sunghoon is a damn ice skater.
He knows people. You know what I'm saying? Listen. Kay and Taki following Kay around. This father-son moment.
I mean, truly.
And then this was the moment when I remembered that they like end up in Antine together, and I like started crying.
Yeah. I mean, truly, that was the thing. When I saw that Niki went to ground and Taki went to Iland, I was like, oh no, Taki won't have anyone to kind of lean on again for like another week. Because there's not going to be another like Japanese person.
Untrue.
And then I was like, oh my God, no, Kay's there.
Yeah.
And Kay like took care of Niki really that first week when Niki was going through all of that.
There's been so many comments of people being like, the Kay thing was crazy. And I
think something's going to happen?
I don't know.
Wait, I'm so scared.
But like, he's done nothing so far. Like, he doesn't even have a narrative.
This was his best episode so far out of the 3 episodes.
Yeah. But he still doesn't. There's
no clear narrative.
The narrative was he and Taki are being nice to each other. That was the narrative.
Well, cool. Like, he'll go out of his way and be like, hey, let's go eat. Yeah. Or like, Taki, make sure you eat. Taki, make sure you do this. Yeah, and Taki like copying him, like washing his hair the same way.
Like glancing out of the corner of his eye, watching him like wash his face and doing it the same way. Oh my God. It's so cute. It's very endearing to see someone look up to someone in real time.
Absolutely.
Like, you can watch it actually happening. Yeah. Over in ground, Niki, Jay, the Islanders who went down to ground
are like, I don't understand.
The grounders do not want to practice.
They don't want to work. They don't want to practice at all.
They are fully Kim Kardashian.
Weird.
It feels like no one seems to want to work these days.
It seems like nobody wants to work these days. Well, maybe if you had a job. Yeah, it's like fully giving that.
It was definitely that energy for sure.
To the point where Jay was like super frustrated. Okay, Jay was incredibly frustrated because he was like, we're not hitting the schedule that we made because we're not learning.
We're falling behind.
We're so behind. We're not learning the parts that we should learn by now. He kind of like, they practiced that night, and I think like Jay like leaves for a little bit. I think just like cool off while everyone's just learning their parts over and over again. And Niki kind of takes over as like dance captain.
This scene is so crazy.
This is so crazy.
I truly, coming into the show, did not know that Niki was going to be made a villain on the show. I could not believe it was happening in real time.
Yeah. And so like Niki is like, I don't even remember who it was, but one of the trainees who was sick, he had a mask on, was like, yeah, your arms aren't like elongated the same way that it used to be. You're like stretching it where it should kind of just like drift rather, or like
He was saying he wasn't putting enough force into
it. And he was like, no, I understand. I'm marking. I'm not feeling well. But he wasn't even saying it, that guy. He was like, no, I understand. And Niki kept being like, but you just did it. You did it earlier today.
Daniel was saying it.
And then Daniel, I didn't know it was Daniel until they showed Daniel. Daniel was like, no, Niki, he knows. He's just not feeling well right now. So that's probably fine, but he knows to do it. And Niki's like,
I don't care about age, right, in the way that Koreans do, but I swear to God, if a 14-year-old was yelling at me, I would be like, we're about to have words.
Yeah.
We are about to have words with each other.
And Daniel and Niki just started kind of going back and forth.
And Niki wouldn't let it go.
Niki would not let it go. And everyone was like, we're just really tired.
Miss Girl is wearing a mask.
He is wearing a mask. He's not feeling well.
It's 2020.
It's 2020.
It's 2020.
There's a reason why we haven't seen any staff members for the past 2 weeks.
Right.
Niki. He knows. Drilling it isn't helping right now because he's not in his right mind. He's got the vapors.
Yeah.
Okay. He's not feeling well.
Oh my God. It was so crazy.
And Niki would not let it go. He kept being like, but you did it. But you did it today. I saw you do it. So just do it again. And Daniel had to kind of really be like, Niki, he's sick. To which Niki is like, this is crazy. And walks out. Storms off.
I could not believe this scene happened.
I could not believe it was happening.
I mean, knowing Niki's background and that he was like a backup dancer for SHINee and like like has been
dancing since like 2.
Yes. That like Niki already went into ground, and everyone who came from Iland, not just Niki, but everybody who came from Iland went into the ground room and was like, none of these people work hard enough.
Yeah.
And so is also letting that, I'm going to say prejudice, because you're prejudging the situation that you're heading into. He's allowing that to like also latch on to what he's seeing and create this narrative in his head.
Exactly. Instead of opinion.
Actually looking at the situation for what it is and being like, oh, you're sick. Step off to the side.
Yeah.
Da-da-da-da-da. Mark whatever you need to mark.
Mark it right now. It doesn't feel like they're doing broad strokes. Maybe that might be a thing too. Niki was so focused on one arm flexing he kept going back at it that I'm like, is this also another thing where he's already thinking about like details?
Well, this was the Sung Hanbin
Matthew thing. Well, Matthew was argument. Like, hey, let's do this. And Sung Hanbin's like, girl, we need to learn the whole choreography first before we can even talk about feet.
Detail work. Yeah.
Yeah. That I'm like, because they don't have, I mean, he's taught dance. So it's like.
But even in acting, like you do moment to moment work after you get the blocking down.
After you get the blocking down.
I think there are definitely people who are able to do every single detail the first time they learn it. And that is a wonderful skill. But I think that is not most people.
Yes.
And I think you have to meet people where they are naturally gifted at.
It is. This is stepping back. I think it's so right that we saw Iland after watching Boys Planet and Fantasy Boys. I feel so much more prepared to understand what they have to go through. Yeah. That it's interesting to see what people think the right choices in order to ultimately do the same thing every week. You learn a new performance every week.
Right.
You know? And here it's like, because of the fact that they're isolated, they don't have mentors, just to see what they choose is important.
Yeah, anything at the wall.
Anything at the wall.
More so than heesung, which is crazy because he's been billed as the ace of the show.
Yeah.
They are in deference to Niki. And it's wild to me only because I know how young Niki is.
Yes.
And that it's wild.
Yeah, it's so crazy.
Yeah.
This whole
show is a journey.
This whole journey is a show.
And say both of that. The grounders are struggling, who are now in Iland. The new Islanders.
The new Islanders, previously ground, are struggling because everyone is practicing on their own.
Everyone, basically, okay, in ground, you have one computer, one person learns it and then teaches the rest.
Yep.
In Iland, everybody has everybody has an iPad.
Go ahead, girl.
Samsung tablet.
Yeah.
So everybody can do it on their own. So nobody needs to work together. The problem is that this is the teamwork week. This is the teamwork test.
This is the teamwork test.
And truly...
And no one is talking to each other.
No one's talking to each other. No one's working with each other. No one's watching anybody else's choreography. And truly, it is summed up when heesung is like, oh, I'm going to go off to my own little practice room by myself. And we get this like talking head with him where he was like...
At night, he was like in bed, about to go to bed, and Ganu and Son and Jungwon were there.
And he was like, because here's the thing... We will get a better... he's not wrong in his logic. His logic is, if everybody gets a great individual score, it will raise the average score.
Yes.
Therefore...
Correct.
And that is not
that logic
untrue.
Is correct. However...
The problem is that any type of like group... Any type of group activity, if you're not working together... If there's not teamwork, and he's just thinking about it and being like, oh, teamwork is just synchronicity. But like,
as a big kid trainee, yeah,
of course he is, and it's not just that. It's like how you like spatially move around each other, how you're aware of each other, how you feed off each other's energy. Like, there's so much that goes into like feeling comfortable with each other. That gets. I mean, the great groups have the dynamic that you can feel not only like when they're in their variety shows and they're having fun and being goofy, but you can also feel it when they're on stage with each other. You can feel that they're like
their presence,
the push and the pull of each other, and they are fully aware. That's what makes it so seamless.
Yeah.
And like Coco Melon.
Yes.
It's like just like so easy to watch that it just like pours over you.
But the thing here is that he doesn't know, because they haven't worked together. He doesn't know that the girlies from Ground have like a huge gap in learning on their own.
Right, because they haven't done
that. Sunoo was like, well, in Ground, we didn't have to do this. We all forced each other to learn with one another. Right. So that's all we had to do.
Yeah.
So heesung, by doing this, if like, I'm glad that they had the midpoint check, but if they didn't, half, maybe 5 or 4 people would probably get 80s and 90s, maybe. And then everyone else would get like 30s and 40s because they never worked together to kind of like, they were just fully driving the wedge like further.
You're splitting it
more, which is will cause the average to.
But then it's also like,
and it's so interesting because this entire time I'm like, this is the rich stay rich. Like, this is literally
yes,
like
and
society.
And it's also, he's like, there's the level of like, are you doing that? Because his words are, it's so that we can send as few people back to ground as possible.
Yeah.
And I think that is, I don't think he's lying when he says that.
I think that's his true intention.
I do also think that he wants his original Islanders back.
Yeah.
Because those are the first people you meet and you start forging those bonds with really quickly.
But I also think he thinks, and that first group of Iland thinks, because they were the first Islanders, that they are the best in the show.
Yes.
That should debut.
Yes.
Which is that's not written anywhere, girl.
That's not written anywhere, and that's not how being an idol is either. Because it's not just like, oh, you did one performance and like, not. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, it's a series. It's layers of everything that you have to like keep constantly.
It's insane. And it's insane. My biggest thing.
I couldn't believe heesung was saying that because I was like, there is no world. I understand your logic.
There is no world where this makes sense. This makes sense. Okay, so we go into the midpoint checks. It was a surprise.
It doesn't go well.
Doesn't go well. There's a big move in the dance
where they like
in the dance break. There's a lot of like parts. You have to stand on people.
There's one big part where you have like
trust fall.
Trust fall. I mean, it can't be more clear that the whole episode is about teamwork. They put a trust fall into the damn
Jesus Christ
choreo.
And Jay, who's taken over leadership, says, hey, by the way, before we start, just so you know, we didn't prepare the trust fall because we felt like it was too dangerous right now. So you're not going to see that. Are you going to try? And they're like, it's not too safe. In Jay's benefit and also in Heesung's benefit, because the same thing happens at Iland.
Yes.
That's a good call to make.
Yeah, don't just out of nowhere be like, we've never so we've got to do a trust fall.
We've never practiced a trust fall, so let's just do it. Someone could get hurt. That's totally fine. The problem is they didn't practice it.
Yes.
They took it they took the decision and be like, we're not going to have it ready by then.
Yeah. And maybe it is because Jay was like, we're falling behind. So maybe they really.
So they were like, okay, let's just focus on
behind. Rain was does not so take mad.
It well.
Oh my God. And I felt so bad for Jay.
I felt bad for the kids. I felt bad for Jay. I did feel like Rain was probably putting it on extra. I get it.
Oh, they always do.
They always do in these shows. Because they know that's what people...
This is Rain's Tiffany. Be quiet, Tiffany. This is his Tyra.
Were you... this is Rain's Tyra.
Yeah.
I've never yelled at at a girl like this.
Yeah.
When my mother yelled at me like this is because she loved me.
Yeah.
Yeah. How dare you?
Learn something
from this. When you go back home and you cry in your mirror. Yeah.
You know that iconic Rain speech.
Take responsibilities for yourself.
So good. She really gave a lot to the culture.
Oh my God.
She really did.
Tyra at her
some
prime.
Mess and some...
A lot of mess.
Mostly mess. Mostly mess.
Looking back, we're like...
She
did what?
Yeah, Youngbin and Nicholas, those are the ones who just came from Iland, are having trouble with the choreo. It's very interesting. They're pointing out like, look, it doesn't matter where you've been. You can struggle here as well.
Yes.
Like it's...
Yes.
Zico, however, goes to Iland.
Also
and
a
heesung
mess.
Not good.
Okay, it's not good, but they did have I think they saw Taki and they were like, obviously
this reaction. Yeah.
They were seeing people obviously, but still not cohesive. No teamwork really.
Yeah.
The damn trust fall. Any of the dance break.
Climb the pyramid.
Climbing the pyramid. They didn't do it. Nothing.
Yeah. Why is this bad? Basically. And Heesung is just and then says his thought process. He was like, if we do individually great, then it'll raise the average score.
Adam had to pause.
And I couldn't believe he said that.
Yeah.
When they have been told that it is called the teamwork challenge.
Yeah.
I was like, Heesung. I know you're tunnel visioning. I know you're tunnel visioning, and you just want to debut.
I know.
It's so clear that this test is made to be can you work together?
Especially by mixing it up first, too. You're getting a new... they made sure they do the biggest shift, half and half.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's it was hard to watch, but I'm
glad honesty.
I'm glad that it happened because they had to learn this lesson.
Yes, they had to be well, that's not what we're doing.
That's not what we're doing. That's not what we told you to do. It's literally called teamwork. So
they thought
work as a team.
The problem is he was oh, it's a shortcut to getting to what we want, and it's there's no shortcuts.
No,
there aren't any. Unfortunately, we wish there were.
And because of this, I think the best part about the show or about this episode was after. They're forced to talk to each other, Iland, and basically had to kind of be let's address the elephant in the room. We all don't talk to each other. We've sensed a big shift. This episode has really turned me around on our beloved IChan, because IChan was fully it feels like we can't talk to you because all you guys want to do is practice on your own, and being here and working together isn't just about practice or like learning to dance. It's about getting to know each other. And so sometimes we may look like we're not serious, but it's because we're trying to connect and like be friends and like talk about things that aren't just what we're trying to do here.
This is the other thing that's so different from like,
and I
like the famous quote from Drag Race is like, this isn't RuPaul's best friends race.
Yeah.
You have to become
like
friends.
the people that you're
like the
working
people
with.
you're going to potentially work with for 7 years.
Yeah.
If you sign this contract.
And I love that they gave it this moment, and I love that J-Bomb said this, because it's like, that's very important to know and to be aware, because I think IChan, in the 2 shows that we've seen him now, I feel like always gets painted that like maybe he's not serious, because I think he values creating these relationships just as much as learning the steps, because he's a good dancer and a good singer.
Right.
In all of the, like, the only time he didn't sound good was when he didn't know the dance, which was Ground.
Last week, yeah.
And then when he had fucking COVID, when he was sick in Boys Planet.
During Boys Planet, yeah.
So like, he is very capable, but I do think he's just a person that values the like soft skills too, like the creating the relationship.
Yeah.
And I'm so happy that they gave that.
I've never seen RJ this impassioned,
because I genuinely, that's how I work with people. Like, that's how I, like, at work when I do creative projects, I value just as much time with the time spent with people and not just getting the job done, because it's like, we're all being forced to spend time together. If we don't at least even like, if the environment isn't happy or at least manageable that we like to do this, then what's the point?
Yeah.
So it was just so, I don't know. It just felt very validating of like, that's someone who sees that is important.
Yeah.
Especially in this situation where it's like a survival show. And he's still holding on to that like, this is just as important. Not me being an IChan stan.
Yeah, what the hell was that about? The Islanders work on their like the cooperative dance thing. Taeyong is getting abused. He's getting stepped on.
Taeyong was like, I didn't realize when I volunteered for position 10 that I would actually be the back and the support.
Yeah.
That like Jungwon and Heesung will jump from.
Yeah. And the like base of the pyramid.
I'm the bottom of the pyramid. So this like...
But I'm curious because they pointed that out. So I wonder if he's going to stay in Iland because they're going to be like, well, he did so well.
He did so much.
And he did so much. Yeah. I thought it was interesting that they like called that out. They have their performance. How do you think this this song is? I know we said it earlier. This song is so
great.
Good.
Yeah.
What do you think of this performance? Fire.
The fact that they all self-teach and that the mentorship is very minimal will hinder the quality of the performances, because they all, so far, these 2 performances feel like trainees performing for their like monthly evaluation, which it is. It just done in a week.
Yeah.
But it doesn't give the same feeling of like a performance, maybe because they're not doing it to an audience. The fact that the producers called out like 3 people were like doing facial expressions.
Yeah.
Actually, and they even call it out. They're like, the song is called Fire. So I wish people felt the fire.
We need to be burning up.
Yes. That being said, this song feels so weird to be done by 12 people. I feel like I barely saw anyone.
I know. It's, yeah.
Which might be it's a teamwork challenge, so maybe that's the point.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. And because they give a lot of the song away in order to do the
dance break.
The dance break. I thought it was good. I see what you're saying, but then I'm also like, but isn't that more true to how they end up in a group that's not formed in a survival show?
Right.
Isn't it more that like you're just seeing them like do their monthly evaluations and then you pick from that? Like you're not getting one-on-one individual. Or I mean, maybe you are probably, but Like it's a different. It's I would say like Boys Planet was like kind of in the middle. Fantasy Boys was like totally like we're creating the performance
it's
and like
just Flash.
yeah.
Truly just Flash.
Yeah. Most people are enjoying K-pop through YouTube.
Yeah.
Most of your fans are never going to see you every single performance you ever give.
Yeah.
Most people are going to watch you on Music Bank. They're going to watch you on M Countdown. They're not going to be in person with you.
Yeah.
And as much fun as that's why it's so crazy to think about. Like enhypen debuted, they had the show where no one came. And then they debuted. No one was at music shows. They had nobody there. So it was like a year before they finally had like people actually clap for them.
Yeah.
It's wild to think about.
Yeah. How'd they do? We don't know.
We don't know. The only thing we find out at the very end of the episode is that there are dropouts.
There will be dropouts, but the high.
So they got less than 96.
But the scores were like in the high 80s.
Yeah, they were definitely. They were much higher scores than last week.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna guess. Okay, now here's what we're gonna do this week, because it's gonna change every week, just like the show.
Just like the
changing
egg.
every week. Okay, how many are going? Who's leaving? Who's coming in?
I'm gonna say a solid 4.
4. I'm gonna say 3. I think they're gonna send.
Down. I think they're gonna kick J-Bomb and Sunoo.
Yep.
Again.
Yep. And they'll probably.
I think it's the 4. I think maybe not Taeyang. And I think Taki again.
Yeah, probably. Although Taki did so good.
But not to them. To the producers, but not to them.
Yeah. They don't, because they
think it's goofy.
Yeah.
But for the producers, like, no.
But they're right at that, all of them are right at that age where you're like, oh, I want to be cool. I want to be perceived as cool. I want to be perceived as sexy.
Like, no, girl.
When, like, what's fun is, like, if there's a wide variety in a group.
Yes.
Of
it's just about confidence. Like, what you like about yourself and showing that off.
Yes, totally.
So I do think it's those 3, and then maybe, like, either a Jungwon or...
I think it's gonna be all grounders again.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be all grounders.
I don't think they're gonna send any of those 6 out. I think those 6 are like there to the end of the show, and then not all of them,
and then 7.
But then I'd love a Hanbin.
I would love a damn Hanbin.
But he was not even in the he didn't have a single word said the whole episode.
He was there with like the quote unquote Iland group in ground, like
who was complaining about how the grounders aren't like practicing
but
enough.
I think that's from a person of like he probably already knew the dance. Like he's a fast learner. So I think he was just trying, to me it seemed like he was trying to mediate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It might be Daniel.
It could be Daniel.
Because they did give that moment of him and Niki that I'm like, oh, I think they're going to play that up. I'm not like stressed watching the show, but actually I am stressed watching the show.
I'm stressed while it's on because it's so different.
Yes.
And I don't really know what's coming next. Even though, I mean, it is funny because I kept being like, we know the end, so I don't even know if it's going to be worth watching the show.
Yeah.
It's so worth watching. Especially if you like enhypen, just at least to know kind of like how it all came about. And also like, I think it does put a cool spin on
the survival show.
Yeah.
The last thing I'll say, and I think we need to address this, the biggest villain of the show is Weverse app. Why the fuck did we try for like an hour opening this video? We could not watch this video on Weverse. The app on our TV was not working. We couldn't watch it on our devices.
I couldn't log in on my Samsung television.
Hello?
Okay.
We couldn't watch it because it doesn't let you
We tried to watch it on our computer and then AirPlay it.
You
can't. No, she won't screen mirror. She won't do nothing.
She won't do nothing. And when we tried to AirPlay it and it failed, we were like, well, we'll just watch it on the computer. It wouldn't let us because it was like, we saw that you tried to play this already in a different device.
So turn off every other device and then wait 2 minutes.
Wait 2 minutes. All to watch a damn show. Do you want me to watch the show or not?
I bought the show.
Do you want me to watch the show?
I paid for I paid for the rubies or the coins or whatever in order to buy the show.
Most of the people that are watching this are in their little phones,
going to school on their little school buses.
But not everyone, girl. Some of us
are adults.
Are adults that want to watch it on a TV while laying on this couch that we bought. Okay.
With our money. From our jobs.
Yes.
Calm down.
The show's done.
The show's done. The show's done. The show is finished.
The show is on Viki in every other country except for us.
Yeah.